We go over to our third discussion for the evening. We live in secular democracies around the world, but there are different laws for different communities when it comes to marriage. India has many different laws, but what we are looking tonight is at the much awaited bill to regulate marriages of minority Hindus in Pakistan. Moved closer to reality after a Senate committee approved the landmark draft legislation, nearly 4 months after it was passed by the National Assembly. The Hindu Marriage Bill 2016 will become a law after it will be passed by the Senate, the upper house of the Parliament. Once a law, what change will this bring out, and how will lives of Hindus change in Pakistan? We talk about this and much more. Joining me tonight from Pakistan is Ross Mahtani. He's a Hindu activist and a bureau chief in Pakistan, Taha Siddiqui. Let me start by asking you, Taha, give me a sense of the reason that this bill was required.
Well, basically, there are a few. The fact that there is no documentary evidence for Hindus for example, for financial transactions, for when marriage happens, then the children being registered in schools, the wife, for example, needing any other sort of transactions in, for example, having a personal bank account or a phone registered to the person himself, like a mobile SIM registered. So all of that, that wasn't possible for Hindu women, especially because they were not recognized. And then even regular police harassment. So there are cases of couples being harassed when they would want to go abroad for visa processing. Hindus were not able to get to produce a documentary evidence saying that they're married. So it was a very difficult situation for them, and still is. But now we do know that this new bill is going to be it's almost passed, and the Senate committee has passed it. The National Assembly has already passed it. So it's definitely a landmark bill in the sense of alleviating the lives of Hindu minority in the country.
Mr. Mahtani, it's almost 7 decades since Pakistan got independence. This has taken way too long. Give me a bit of sense of what it took to get a bill like this passed in Pakistan.
First of all, it's a landmark bill that has been passed by the Senate committee recently on Monday. But it took so many years because it was not on the priority of government, mainly. And secondly, there were reservations from community leaders also from within the Hindu community regarding its divorce clause, because they thought that divorce is not part of Hindu religion. But this is indeed, since international treaties, they consider divorce as a right, and it's indeed a landmark achievement. But I would like to add on this, that this landmark bill will be valid in 3 provinces, KPK, Punjab, and Balochistan. Whereas where 90% of the Hindu population lives in Pakistan, the Sindh province, they don't have, this comprehensive bill of National Assembly will not be valid in Sindh province, because the Sindh province has passed its own law, which is a very simple law, and it does not deals with a lot of other issues like maintenance, separation. It only deals with the registration of marriage.
Right.
So yes.
Right. Stay with us, Mr. Mahtani, stay with us, Taha. But let's quickly take a look at this report filed by Taha Siddiqui about what this bill is and what it means.
For the first time since independence, Pakistan is moving to provide some protection to its Hindu minority. A draft law recognizing Hindu marriages has been cleared by the National Assembly's Standing Committee on Law and Justice. The law will ensure that marriages have legal proof. It provides for documentation necessary for financial transactions involving married Hindu couples. In case of separation or divorce, it gives legal protection to Hindu women. It also ensures that divorced Hindu men provide financial and other support for their families. As and when the draft bill becomes law, it will protect Hindu women from the Muslim male population. They are seen as vulnerable given that there have been many instances of abduction and forcible conversion of Hindu women to Islam before being married off to Muslim men. Some of these women were already married to men in their own community, but until now had no way to prove it. Human rights observers say that this Hindu marriage bill will provide legal protection to marriages and separation to those belonging to this religious minority, especially the women. This is Taha Siddiqui with cameraman Ra Bilal reporting for WION from Islamabad.
Taha, make me understand this a bit. I'm a little confused here. One of the key features is the provision of this law would prevent Hindu women from the Muslim male population. Just take us through this, make us understand what it means.
Well, one of the biggest problems, the threats that women face, Hindu women face, or actually minority underage, below the age of 18 face, and especially in Sindh, where, as the other participant was saying, or Ross Mehtani was saying, that the federal law will not apply because they have their own provincial law. But despite that, they have some protection in the sense of recently they passed a law against forced conversions. But there's this a lot of Muslim population living in these Hindu areas, which has been in the past been accused of. It has been proven through court. Different commissions have been set up in which it has been proven that Hindu girls are abducted by men mostly belonging to Muslim families. Later on, they say that the Hindu women went with them and they converted, and then there is no return back. So in that sense also, sometimes these women are actually already married, and because of which another law has actually been introduced, which is the Child Marriages Act, to protect underage girls not being married off. So in the situation in Sindh with regards to the underage girls is a big problem, especially given the fact that Muslim men usually pressurize families into giving them off and then converting them, and then sort of they have no return back into the society. So this law, this bill will also help those kind of women, but definitely in other provinces, because Sindh itself has another law which is similar to this one, and then other like the forced conversion law, the child marriages law. So now there is, it feels like the government in the past few years has been moving towards protecting the Hindu minority across Pakistan.
Absolutely. I remember in 2001 when we went into Pakistan, General Musharraf also started rebuilding some of the temples around Islamabad. Now, Ross, give me a sense of what is going to be the change here. This draft becomes a law eventually, right?
There will be very positive change, like Mr. Taha was discussing earlier, that it will be easy to regulate Hindu marriages and divorces, and it will be easy to prove relationships. There are many issues that take birth when we're not able to prove our marriage, like inheritance issues, proving relationship, checking in hotels, and obtaining visas, obtaining CNICs. So this will solve many of the issues at the grassroots level for Hindu community, because it's first time in the history that Hindu marriages and divorces will be regulated.
Ross, this bill should surely build more confidence in the minorities in Pakistan.
Yes, it's definitely it's a source of encouragement for all the minorities, and very nice New Year gift for the minority community of Pakistan. But it's important that when laws are made, it's important that its awareness should be made and its implementation should be ensured in letter and spirit. So these are also the areas which should be looked on by the government.
But are there provisions you would have liked to include in this draft?
Yes, and especially in the Sindh government bill, which only deals with the registration of Hindu marriage. So it's a step in the right direction, but there is need for more amendments in that bill, because 90%, like I said before, 90% of the Hindu community lives in the Sindh province. So it's important that the clauses of maintenance, judicial separation, divorce should be added in the Hindu Marriage Act of Sindh government.
Taha, this is a change that has been proposed after decades of the old structure. Give me a sense of what it took for a government of Nawaz Sharif to do this, and how much backing there is for a bill like this across Pakistan.
Well, if you see, already with this bill, I was reading the minutes of the meeting, of the Senate committee meeting. where they were being discussed. There were religious leaders which were opposing it because there's one clause in this bill which talks about the fact that the marriages will be recognized at 18 years of age, which is the legal age for somebody to turn from minor to major. And that has been opposed already by Muslim lobbies, Islamist lobbies, especially the sort of the extremist hardliners within the assembly across, who usually do not have much representation in the assemblies actually, but have a lot of street power in Pakistan, as we know. For example, in Sindh, recently when the forced conversion bill was passed by the Sindh Assembly, there's a very strong opposition from the hardline Islamists. They've taken out street protests, and the Sindh government is actually thinking, again, it was a bill for the Hindu minority to stop forced conversions from happening from underage girls. And that bill has come under a lot of scrutiny by the religious lobbies, and the government has been sort of forced into reviewing it. Similarly, in Punjab, we've seen sometimes some such liberal laws or such pro-minority laws which get a lot of opposition from religious lobbies and on the streets, and then usually the government at times has to review it, and we've seen that in the past. And now with this particular law, right now it hasn't been absolutely passed. I mean, the Senate has to pass it yet, but at the Senate Standing Committee meeting, there's already been opposition from the religious lobbies. So it might be expected in the coming days that they might build more pressure, and we've seen Nawaz Sharif, and this is one of the things that these religious parties use to pressurize the government to accept other demands that they have. So maybe that dealing might happen in the coming days, and that's why it is sort of commendable for Nawaz Sharif to pass this bill, or in the environment that Pakistani governments operate in, to pass such bills.
Taha, give us a sense of, when we talk about marriages in Pakistan, is there an age where Muslim girls are allowed to be married, and is that the age of 18 different from that age?
Well, there's a Child Marriages Act in some of the provinces, and the Child Marriages Act does stipulate that the girl is supposed to be at 18. So in that sense, there is a legal protection. But again, how much of that is implemented, and because of areas where there are vulnerable girls, for example, in parts of Sindh, as I was mentioning earlier, there usually what happens is then the girls get married earlier because of the sense of sort of insecurity from the majority. The minority girls usually get married off earlier. But by law, it is legally protected, and 18 is the age.
Let me get a closing statement from you, Ross. Give us a sense of what the feeling is on the ground. What are your other people in the community saying about the law?
Yes, the minorities, there have been some very positive changes in the last 2 years. Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif Saab has celebrated Diwali in Karachi. Imran Khan has celebrated Holi in Umarkot. Likewise, Bilawal Bhutto, Sindh government declared for the first time in the history Diwali as a public holiday in Sindh province. So there are challenges, but things are moving forward, and we are very hopeful. And the steps are in the right direction. So the Hindu community and especially minorities are very hopeful, and they look forward because of these positive changes happening recently.
This is certainly a very big decision by the Nawaz Sharif government to provide protection to the minorities. I'm sure there's going to be a tremendous amount of reaction to this in Pakistan in the weeks ahead. Thank you, Taha, for joining us for this discussion, and thank you, Mr. Mehtani. That's all we could pack for you tonight on the show. Stay with us on Gravitas every night at 9 p.m. when we bring you stories from around the world. Join us on our social media channels and share your feedback with us on our website and on our web application. Thank you, good night, and good luck.